Hello everyone, I'm SurrealBeliefs and welcome to Surreal Talk number 2. Now your responses and feedback to Talk number 1 was just astounding and thank you so much for that. But here, let's begin with some questions that I was being asked by some of you. So first off here's a question for you, Surreal. What helps motivate you to work out? What drives you to do it every day? I've been having trouble keeping on top of it. Also, any other advice would be appreciated. Well, first off, it's honestly very difficult to push yourself to work out every day, or even just every other day, or even just once in a while. It's a difficult and challenging thing to do. I mean, why work out when you could just sit there and not work out, right? But honestly, what drove me so much is that I was at a point in my life where I wasn't very happy with how things were going. I was going, man, I'm not happy with how I am right now. And so I would look in the mirror and go like, what could I do right now to improve myself? What do I have control over? And well, it's an obvious answer there. I have control over my own body. And so I just began to work out. I pushed myself every day because there was a change. There was a change in how I looked and how I felt. And so that alone was the fuel that kept me going. But let me tell you one thing here. It was a challenge, all right? My mind would come up with every excuse in the book. Oh man, I could push it off till later. I can wait until later to improve my own body. Now, your mind will create any lie, any illusion to keep you from actually working out. And so what I would have to do was act. I would have to act with my body without thought. And so that's honestly how I did it, and I still do it now, is that eventually it does become a habit, but it can easily be broken too. So I would have to say that you don't always have to devote yourself to an intense workout, because often people will hit it hard, they will work out so much, but then they will burn out. If you're consistent, if you keep pushing yourself, if you keep changing things up, you will train yourself, you will change yourself. And so that is my advice to you, and hopefully you can take that and run with it. And then here's another question that I have here. If you could go back and change a decision, would you? Now often, many people say, I would not. It defines who I am. But let's be honest here. If you could go back in time and change a choice that you made that you truly regret. I mean, I'm sure some of you have this type of sensation where you suddenly will relive an embarrassing or terrorizing moment from your past where it'll pop out of nowhere and haunt you. And honestly, I've dealt with that quite a bit. And so I would go back. If I had the capability to go back and change a few choices, I would, because I would still be who I am now. I mean, clearly, I can't change the choices that other people make, which have really been the life-changing moments for me too. So if I could change my own choices, yes, I would. And I don't see it as much of a cop-out, and I don't see it as weak. It's just that, honestly, I would. But since that's not reality, honestly, you have to learn from your past. And then once you learn what went wrong, what you did wrong, but from that point on, do not guilt yourself over that. You make your amends, you forgive yourself, you forgive who may have wronged you, and then you move on. If you succumb to hate, if you succumb to anything from that past, then from that point on, you're letting it devour you. You're letting someone else live in your head for free. And whether you like them or not, whatever they did to you, it's better to let go and move on. And really, the best way to improve yourself is to learn and then just move on. I mean, it's a very simple thing, is that you have to focus on tomorrow. The present and tomorrow are all that you can control right now. The past stays in that past. It's what you read about. It's what you think over, but do not focus on it. And so that's my thought on that. Now here's another question here. Alright, I'm in college and I don't know what I want to do after this. I'm a writer as well, mixed sci-fi and fantasy, and lately I've been getting a fair amount of it down, but in case it doesn't work out, I feel like I want some other career ready. My girlfriend and I want to start a family. While you're dispensing worldly advice, you ever been in a situation like this? Well, let me tell you one thing that I think is a universal truth. No one knows what they want to do with their life from the very beginning. Now, some people can be confident and they may know, very few people do know, that after they're done with their primary school, their grade school, of what they want to do with their life. Now, if you don't know, don't worry about it. There's many people who will be in their in the midst of their life, in the prime of their life, and they still do not know. Now, in order to learn about what you want to do with your life, you can't just think about it. It's nice to plan, but you can't plan out everything in your life. You have to act, you have to try new things, you have to open your own life to new experiences. And so from that point on, how can you know what you want to do with your life if you keep yourself in a box and you're unable to change and adapt and try new things? And so from that point, you really just have to try to do new subjects, things that you may not have even thought of. And often you'll find that what you did not consider doing with your life may be what you end up doing with your life, but that's really my advice to give you. And so as far as the family part, now this is subjective and it's only my point of view. It's not fact, it's not law, so just remember, take it with a grain of salt and you can consider it, but you do not have to follow anything that I'm saying here. Now, one thing that I think back on is that if I was to have a family myself, I would want to make sure that I followed through with my own dreams, that I was able to provide a foundation, even financially, because when I think back to my own life, I had various tough times as a youth because, well, my small family was not ready to have a child in their world just yet. And so while, yes, it may have been a blessing, it may have changed their lives, I just honestly think that you should really consider your own dreams first. And this may be involved in your dreams, but you want to make sure that you have no regrets, that you can move on and that you can dedicate yourself to your possibly future offspring. So I would say learn more about yourself so that one day you may be a well-educated and a well-learned person of not only books but also learning. That way you may impart that wisdom to whatever children that you may have with your girlfriend or possibly future wife. And so from that point on, it's just, I would say it's very wise to have another career too. You want to keep adaptable. We're in a day and age where very few people work a job for the next 40 years of their life and then they live on a pension. You want many skills. You want to be adaptable. And now on that note, when you're in college, you're not just paying for an education. What you honestly are there for too is to network. You want to meet other people. So go out of your way to meet other people. Go out of your way to be friends with your professors, because unfortunately, we don't live in a world that is based on a meritocracy. We're based on a world where if you know the right people, you will probably get much further than someone who just worked very hard. So that doesn't mean that you need to kiss up or do anything like that. Just be friendly and keep your mind open. Keep friends there. And so that's just my view on that. And I did go off on a bit of a tangent, but I do believe it is correlated to that. Now, let's see. We have over here, I'm currently in 9th grade and enjoy literature and history a lot, and I'm being homeschooled. I feel like I'm not accomplishing much in homeschool, but I'm afraid I won't like going to another school. My mother and I are very close, and she told me if I want to go to a school, I can, but I fear I will not like it. What do I do? Thanks for everything. Well, first off, you're quite welcome. Now, there's really not any sole right answer, but I will tell you this, is that one thing that had boxed me in my youth is that I had fear of change. I had fear of changing things up, of losing my previous friends. Now, I understand that you feel like you're not accomplishing much, but you can learn at any point in your life. School is not the sole place for learning, but if you feel like that you're not accomplishing much, and if there's a good school for you to go to, then I would encourage you to go to school. I will not say that school will be the best years of your life, like some people say, even if you do have reduced responsibility, because I know how toxic the atmosphere, the social atmosphere in school can be. So I'm not underwhelming that, but honestly, if you do remain homeschooled, I would say try to get into some extracurricular activities just because you want to meet other people. And even if it's not your nature to do so, there's some type of group, some type of something that you can find out there where you can find like-minded people. And it's very good that you do feel like you're not accomplishing much because you recognize that you're not just there for the easy run. So I would talk this through with her, and there are going to be negatives and tough times, but if you think it would be a good change where you would be able to meet other people and make friends and have a social environment that is beneficial to you, then be sure to go ahead and do that. And don't let anyone ever mock your relationship with your mother too. Now, I'm very close with my father because he's all that I have. I don't really have any other family in my life. They're very few in number, and so some people would mock that, but honestly, there's nothing to mock. I mean, I honestly just would feel it's like, would you rather me not have a relationship with him? Would you rather me not be close with him? So just on that note, it's very good that you two are close, and that is a positive thing. And so you may have fears here, but let me tell you is that as long as you go in and you're willing to talk to other people, do not shut this in, do not close in any negative feelings that you have. Now, this doesn't mean to go just spew out everything at every little slight, but just honestly be open with whoever you can and try to keep an open mind. Now, let's see. I'll drink some coffee and look at this next question here. Okay, Surreal, I need some advice. I've lost my will to study in high school, and now my life has stopped and is slowly crumbling. Any wisdom to share? Let me tell you this here. I was actually a mediocre student in high school. I didn't really care. I slept through a lot of classes. I was basically your average student who had more going for him, and I wanted to talk on that. It's not that I couldn't do well, it's just that I did not apply myself, and I'm sure that many of you may have heard that before, because my whole life I was told, man, Matt, you are smart, you are this and that, you're so very smart, you're an old soul. Now see, you can be smart, but if you do not have the work ethic to go behind that, it means absolutely nothing. So I will say that when it comes to studying, it requires a bit of discipline, where you have to form a habit into studying, into wanting to learn. Now, life has its ups and downs. It will go down quite often, but it will also have its ups. And let me tell you this, while other people can make an impact on that, the core feeling that you have in your life is up to you. You are in charge of it. You need to take charge of your life. And this is my personal view, and you can disregard it or not, but honestly, you have to look at what is negative in your life and how you may approach it or change it. And even if you can't fully change it, you need to cushion it as best as you can, which is what you can do. You need to look at what not other people are doing to you or how they're influencing you, but in what you can change in your own life. And you may have lost the spirit now, but honestly, do your best to get out there and do some new things, because honestly, when you have too much time, when you're just home all the time and you don't go take walks or you don't keep yourself preoccupied, very negative thoughts will enter your mind, and you will begin to lose focus, and you will begin to have a lot of negativity fill in because you have too much free time. And honestly, that's when people start to get involved into some negative situations because they're bored, they have nothing else to do, they lose their will, they lose the desire to try new things. So I will say that just honestly, consider that it is just a phase. Consider that you can change aspects of your life and change who you are. And this isn't a cop-out. I'm not trying to devalue any of your feelings here. They're all valid and they all should be considered. But I'm telling you that in order to solve problems, you have to be proactive. You have to be active and trying to find a solution that is suitable for you. Now, let's see what we have here. Alright, so I believe I covered a lot of the questions here, and I know that some people had some for me, and I will certainly do my best to answer a few about me as we get towards the end of this conversation here, and I hope that my answers were satisfactory. I will certainly try to go into more depth if they're not, so feel free to ask me on this video for video number 3, and I will answer your questions, and they won't all be so serious. I will have some silly ones too, but let's see. Okay, well, let's talk about some less serious topics here. Now, first off, I know that many of you want to hear about how I met Red One's Candy, what he's like, and if we've met in real life, and in a future video, I will cover the tale of Red One's Candy. I will say, though, that he is my best friend, and that he's the closest thing that I have to a brother, so keep in mind that I will be going on and on about him and what he's like and all those other topics, too. There's just, you meet some people in life that you click so well with and you're just instantly good friends, and that's really how it worked with him too. Anyway, let's go on to some other topics now. I have a question here that says, or asks me, have you read H.P. Lovecraft? Who are your favorite authors? Well, first off, yes I have, and his writings are so filled with prose, but he had a knack for being able to describe the most inhuman creatures that still unnerve me. I have a very thick book that has, I believe, every story that he's ever written, or at least most of them. And if you've ever heard of The Old Gods, which is from what he has written, then I'm sure that you've seen that title or that topic in some of the more popular gaming franchises of this day. And so he's really been very influential. And then next we have Lord Byron, who was like the Han Solo of his time. This guy was a adventurer and a ladies' man. He was also a figure of a lot of controversy, also known as a very famous writer and poet. So make sure that you read about him and check him out. And then from there we have Edgar Allan Poe, and there was one story by him that really stood out for me. And it really made me think about the human condition and how man, well, is a mortal race. And that was The Mask of the Red Death, which featured the characters Prince Prospero and the Red Death. And I remember I had a university teacher who went down to the high school level, and she was there to teach while she worked on her thesis. And so what she had us do was not only read this story, but also write our own story as if we were a character in that story. And so I really got into it. I really enjoyed it. And that was really one of the more principal times where I knew that I loved to write so much. And so I would encourage that many of you check out that story too. And then from there, I guess I'll talk a little bit about this match. And, well, I used the law quite a bit. I've been enjoying Battlefield 4 a lot, though it's had a lot of issues right now that will be patched out in time. I mean, a lot of people have been problems with disconnecting, but really, I know that it'll be patched. And despite that, I've had some of my best FPS times in this game in a very short span of time. And so for this match, I did use the law a lot, but I also managed to get a lot of kills, and I was able to also win the match, and not only myself but my whole team. And as I go on and on, I've been enjoying playing almost every day with Red One's Candy, and we've both been getting a lot better, and I hope to show that in time. And so anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video, and so I hope that you've enjoyed this, and make sure that you ask your new questions below, and I will try my best to get to them. And as always, until then.